Welcome back. Thank you all so much for joining me again. I am happy to have you, and we're just going to get right into it. So, we're going to go back towards where we were speaking more so on to the different roles we have for It Takes a Village. So we last left off with the elders, which are significant in knowing where we come from. And I want to take us to where we are going. We want to go back in between the realms of what happens to get to the part of where we're going, but I think it helps to see how you can take what was once the past, learn from it, or learn from those who have learned from it, and then elevate yourself to project yourself forward and lead other people with that same information that you received, and how to do that in the current state and presence of where you are now. So we're going to get into the role of a great leader. Most people would think that a great leader has substantial influence, has the capacity to induce someone into doing exactly what it is that they're intending upon them having to be done. And they have certain characteristics that would qualify as being seen as a leader. Great strength, great courage, tenacity, some would even say charisma in some regard, personality of a certain regard as well, take charge, kick down your doors, a certain degree of perseverance, and just that mentality that you get when you are supposed to portray the role of the person that's going to take care of everything and make sure everything turns out just right. You see your action movies, you see your sci-fi movies, wherever the leader role is, you always, can kind of tell. And that is all fine and dandy, and I don't discount that at all. And it has its place, but there's much that is left unattended to by the persons that are observing the role of the leader in their own regards, as they see them, because they've seen other people be these particular things. I can't say what you might see or what you don't see, but we can say for sure that a role is not just a role, but to some people it is, when it comes to being a leader. So I guess the best way to do this, how do we want to do this? So for me, I've always believed that the leader always looks to the interests of the group ahead of his own self. That's what makes a leader truly great, is when they take into consideration those that are vital to the entire progress of the group, the betterment, the wellness of the group, and able to consider the ins and outs of every piece and part of the group that makes it a whole, and to nurture those particular qualities in the group to make sure that those things come out when it couldn't happen if it wasn't being nurtured. This makes the difference between a regular person that can take charge and a person that is able to mold and shape the group for the better into a fine, refined, truly amazing, immaculate machine, if you will, that can operate in its best quality and capacity as a group. In order to do that, a person must probably, in my opinion, have certain qualities. And I just know from my experience what I've done and what I've experienced. So I go from what I've had to learn as a leader and not just wanting to be ahead of everything else. It's more important that you take into account the things that are important to everyone and what matters to the group as a whole, and what qualities are inside of each individual component, person, or thing inside of that particular group. And you make sure that every role is nurtured as it's supposed to be, because if not, then the whole tapestry falls apart. And so it takes a person to observe and be silent to adhere to what is best for the entire group, the integrity of the group. If that's not done, then you can't really lead a particular group or anything in order for it to turn out the way that you would hope it would. It's one thing to see it in the way that it could be, and it's another to actually begin to motivate it to be exactly what it should be. And I've taken for granted the position of being a leader, as it gets hard. You're trying to help mold and shape things in the best way as possible, but it's not always easy when you have to be more considerate of the fact that you can't force every aspect to do and be exactly the way you want it to be. So in order for a leader to see things the way that it should be, that person has to stand aside and let things kind of mold and grow on its own. And as it begins to shape and form, you can kind of nurture it to formulate the way it's supposed to, instead of beating it like it's a gosh darn piece of dough. I mean, you don't even want to beat dough, but some people would probably do so, and what results you'll get is less soft bread. You get more hard and less pliable and fluffy and just all around soft, good formed bread. So in order for you to be able to get the group the way that you want it to be, you literally have to nurture the qualities that are there and allow those things to grow and manifest in the way that they're supposed to. This would make it so that everything blossoms as it should. The earth itself takes care of everything else that needs to be taken care of, without having to push and pull and shove and grope and do things that would deter everything from growing the way it's supposed to. And one of the great qualities about the earth is that it provides enough rain, enough sunshine, enough nutrients to every living thing that's underneath its vicinity, the atmosphere. If we look at the earth as being a great leader, we can take for ourselves and account for what makes it such a great leader is the ability to allow those things to grow in its own manner and to nourish it. It gives it whatever it is that particular plant needs at that given point in time when it needs it. So in order for the best qualities to come about, the earth itself tends to not necessarily fall back, but allow it to manifest, to grow, and to mature. And instead of closing it in and trying to cup it into one particular space, it allows that particular item, whether it be human being, whether it be a plant, whether it be an animal, whatever it may be, that particular entity or object is able to manifest and grow due to the fact that it is not being held or bound by strict confinement. In order for that to manifest in a group, it has to also apply to the leader itself. So when you have that experience as a person of being able to mold and grow and to manifest yourself as best you can, as they do say, pressure makes diamonds and all that great stuff, which is true. You do have to have the right amount of pressure and the right amount of release and relief is important as well. So in order for a nurtured leader to come about, that particular pressure is needed for that particular person to be able to do their duty, their just cause. And that only comes about with experience too, and not just by means of hardship, but just experiences that other people may not have noticed or taken for granted, or not even be aware that needed to be accounted for. Because see, you have to also remember, observance isn't just on the things that are inside of your group, but it's also on the minute things that you don't pay attention to. It's also the things that are outside of your group, your circle, that have to be accounted for as well. So getting to know your terrain, your conditions, your mechanisms that control everything that goes on around you and your group is also a key component to being able to be a great leader. And also cultivating the culture, cultivating the nurturing that needs to be there in the culture is also very important for the entirety of the group and the particular nuances that need to be there as well. So we have a leader that has to have these particular qualities that allow the molding and the shaping to take place in a manner that will also ensure that the realm of the group is able to manifest such a quality that it is almost as beautiful as a diamond. You find the beautiful qualities in each and every aspect, so that each and every individual person included in the group has a particular asset that just helps to fix the structure or the formation of the totality of the group itself. With that being said, that would be the most impactful thing I could ever have experienced for my own experience in life, is understanding that everyone needs room to grow, and the more we give things enough room to grow, those things manifest a greater outlook than what we could have if we would have stunted its growth by stepping on its neck, if you will. So that tends to be the answer, as the leader seems to be a person that also there can be two types of leaders. There can be the person that is structural, who gets down to the bare grit of tactics and strategizing and plotting things to get things done and making sure things are in perspective. If they don't have a vision, it becomes a bit limited, if you will. You can perfect everything that you want, but and that's great. We just still have to remember that there has to be a reason for the perfection. If all you do is hound the very thing that you're trying to make grow, and it doesn't get the direction that you're trying to place on it, it tends to be that that particular thing won't grow in the way it's supposed to, which is where the wisdom from the elders comes in. You begin to learn exactly where the power of knowing where you come from actually takes place in the roles of the leader, or just the role of the group itself, the village. If we don't learn from where we came from, those same exact things will continuously keep on happening. And even worse, we won't have anywhere to go. Both are still not a great thing, but at the same instance, you can learn from something and never move on, or never move to another tier to where you can be able to be on the next level. And I think that that's been the best part of growing, is that you learn to attach those certain things that need to bring you out of the past and into the present so that you can see the future and stick with those things that bring you further along. So the person that is listening to the wisdom that comes from age and experience, or even just age, you understand, oh, well, ding, 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 these certain things were contributing to the factors of why our village was one way, or our community, as it may be, was one way, or even just, your group may have been in one way, and now okay, now we don't have to do those certain things anymore because it doesn't benefit us. Here's what we do now. Oh, so this is where this particular thing didn't add up. So if we take this particular thing and move it over here and do these things over here, you can have this different result. This is the part where we have to become more decisive about how we move forward in order for us to get to where we're going. So the growth happens when we have space and direction for things. I'm not going to give you all my secrets because, you have to see for yourself how you operate and how you move and how you maneuver. And that will tell you all the difference in where you are and how to get to where you want to go. And that makes me believe that you can become as great as you want to be if you're paying attention. So the attentiveness of the leader is next to the most important thing that they can do. Is not necessarily having to be OCD about it, but just attentive to the extent you would notice when something has shifted and when it doesn't need to, and when things have not shifted when it needs to. You will adhere to what the group is missing and what vital signs are there that something else is out of sync when it doesn't need to be. These certain things are key factors. So as a person that wants to guide their particular group, they will have to make sure that their understanding and ability to see forward is intact, which entails the role of the leadership in various forms. It doesn't have to adhere to a specific group of theology or philosophy. Sometimes it's just the way that a person is, or just the way you are, and you have to kind of go from there in order for you to get to the next level. So with that being said, we'll end our session for today because we're only spending so much time on each individual role as we go through the particular roles that are in the village, and taking into account how these roles work with one another to connect them as well. And as we go through these different roles of the village and what it takes to make a village, we'll be able to see even further into fixing our dynamics so that we can progress to where we want to be at. We have a duty to ourselves and to our people to make sure we're ready to make the change that needs to be made for ourselves and our people. If that's going to happen, we have to be clear and we have to be decisive. We have to be understanding and well put together in order for that to happen. So as we keep moving forward, we'll keep continuing our betterment of what it is that a village needs. And I hope to see you on the next round. So stay tuned. See you next time. Bye. Or rather, ciao.